After illegal knees, a no contest, a war of words, almost a year of waiting, and 18 minutes and 17 seconds of pretty darn good MMA action, the Dustin Poirier-Eddie Alvarez rivalry has concluded. Maybe. We'll get to that maybe in a second. I'm Marc Raimondi from MMAfighting.com here with Alexander K. Lee from MMAfighting.com, Invicta champion Sarah Kaufman, who is getting eaten by mosquitoes currently. UFC on Fox already just wrapped up. Dustin Poirier, of course, defeated Eddie Alvarez by second round TKO in their rematch. Of course, the first fight was a no contest after Alvarez landed some illegal knees. Before we get into some maybe minor controversy, I'll start with you, Alex. Dustin Poirier beats Eddie Alvarez. It was a huge fight for his career. As far as the in-cage action went tonight, how do you feel like Poirier performed?
It was outstanding. I mean, you talk about a guy who we know he's a hard hitter, we know he's a skilled fighter, but it's so much more than that when you're fighting someone on the level of Eddie Alvarez, who's just been through it all, and again, who he's already had to fight once and been in kind of a mini war with in their first fight. So to go through what looked like it was going to be another back and forth battle, definitely Eddie got his licks in as well. To triumph over that was huge for Dustin, and like you said, there was some controversy as well, and he also had to fight through that. Though controversy for both ends, I guess. But yeah, Dustin was fantastic. Not to take anything away from Alvarez, but Dustin certainly cemented himself as possibly the #1 lightweight contender in the world right now.
So Sarah, about 24 hours ago, we were standing right here in this spot, and you picked Dustin Poirier to beat Eddie Alvarez. What do you think Poirier did well, and what do you think was kind of the key to victory for him?
Well, I think he could have done better was if on the last left head kick that he threw on the cage it landed, because then my prediction would have been 100% correct. And it could have finished him for sure. But I thought that he did a really good job of being smart, knowing that Eddie was going to kind of come in hard, and being patient. But then when he started jumping for those guillotines, I was pretty worried he was gassing his arms out. Looked like the fight was turning. Eddie ended up on top in a pretty dominant position. Threw the elbow, they stood them back up, and then it looked like Eddie just faded right after that. I guess one of that kind of knee left kick that came through put him off balance, kind of hurt his body, and then right away, the finish happened. But in that heated exchange, like Eddie could have done a big hook, and it could have turned the tides right away. So it was, as a fan, super exciting to watch. And really, it could have gone either way, but Dustin did deserve to win.
That elbow that Sarah mentioned, of course, is unfortunately going to be what a lot of people are talking about after this fight. Of course, we want to give full credit to Poirier for pulling off the TKO victory, but that is going to be a hot topic. Eddie Alvarez had mounts up against the cage on Poirier. He threw a downward 12-6 elbow, which is illegal. You cannot target any area with that blow. And Marc Goddard stepped in, the referee, pulled Eddie Alvarez off Dustin Poirier. He lost that position, and they ended up, both standing in a neutral spot. And as Sarah said, that's where the fight seemed to turn for Alvarez. Now, Alex, for you, how much did that affect things? And do you agree with Marc Goddard's choice to stand up that situation where Alvarez was in a very dominant position? He was looking very good, and things changed very quickly after.
I 100% agree with Goddard's decision to penalize him. It may have been, the 12-6 elbow may have been kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for Goddard, as far as some other infractions that may have been going on that Poirier also addressed in his post-fight comments. But Sarah, I don't know if you thought that it was too much. If that had happened to you in that situation, if you were Eddie and you had been reset out of that dominant position, I'm not sure if that would
I do want to ask you that, Sarah, and also to add to what Alex was saying, Poirier said that not only was there the elbow, Alvarez, wet willies.
Nice way of putting it. He also said his
he got penetrated. But in his ear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah.
Well, this is a very, very fun post-fight show. Yes, Poirier said that Alvarez stuck a finger in his ear while he was in the guillotine choke, while Poirier had him in a guillotine choke. So going back to the elbow, Sarah, as a fighter, what was your take on that whole situation? Were you in agreement with Goddard in pulling Alvarez off and starting in a neutral position?
If a rule is illegal, regardless if it's a stupid rule or the best rule, it's still a rule, and it has to be followed. And if you choose to all of a sudden not penalize that rule, then it starts getting really gray. So It was a 12-6 elbow. That being said, I mean, if you're like this and you go this way from your head to your butt, it's still technically 12-6 in relation to your body, but not in relation to sky to ground. It's a pretty stupid rule because, you know, you're not going to be splitting someone's body in half like you would, you know, bricks or mortar, or not mortar, I don't know, whatever, cement, you know, the karate, zata! You're not going to do that to
Those
someone.
old martial arts videos
Right.
you're talking about.
It's not going to be like the, you know, they fall in half and their brains are hanging out on either side. But it's a rule. And as a rule follower and as someone in the sport, you have to go within that rule set. Regardless if you agree with it or not, it's the rule. Eddie shouldn't have thrown it. And that's it.
Moving on to the co-main event, a fantastic story developed and a great fight also. Jose Aldo defeating Jeremy Stephens by first-round knockout with one of the most wicked body shots that I think any of us have ever seen. What I mean, Sarah, you've been in this game for a long time. Where does that body shot rank for you as far as devastation, I guess?
You know, I've never been hit with a body shot like that. I've actually never really been fully dropped with a body shot. I've had one person knee my body, and I thought I was going to die, but I just kept going. And then after I said, "Why didn't you jump on me in sparring?" and they didn't know I was hurt, so I clearly have a good poker face. But I'm fortunate that I have never been hit so hard in the body that I feel like my inside's rumbling across fully. I've had little ones, and I can only imagine how bad that one was, especially for Jeremy Stephens, who is known for being tough, known for being durable, walks through most things, and you could just tell he wanted to, and his body just really quit on him.
Aldo, of course, gets the win. It's his first finish since 2013, his first win in a non-title fight since 2009. Alex, how big is this victory for Aldo, who was coming off, of course, the two losses? I'm going to pretend like that didn't actually happen. Aldo coming off the two losses to Max Holloway in featherweight title fights. How big is this win for Aldo?
It was enormous, and it's crazy to put it up there with the title fights that he's won, the title fight triumphs that he's had. But if you saw his reaction, he celebrated like he had just, you know, either won his title or defended his title, as he's done so many times. It meant a lot to him, and it meant a lot because people had thought he had fallen off. I mean, it's weird, losing to a top shelf guy like Max Holloway is not a shame, or it shouldn't be anyway. But just because he couldn't beat him, people were saying, well, he's got too much mileage on him. He's past his due date. So beating a tough guy like Stephens, finishing a tough guy like Stephens, says so much about how much he still has left. I had picked him to win. Someone else here among the three of us had not picked him to win, had picked Stephens to win. I won't name who it is. It's not Marc, but I won't say who it is. This person.
I said that I wanted Aldo to win, but I thought that Stephens might win if the old Aldo of old didn't show up, which he did. So I was still a little bit right if you use my roundabout logic. And more importantly, I was so excited. I think it's probably the best post-fight team celebration I have ever seen. I mean, Leo Santos jumping over the cage, Dede jumping in, like everyone's just running in. He does like the knee slide, soccer celebration. They're over Aldo. Aldo jumps out of the cage. He runs into the crowd, busts through the thing. You know, he ended up, I think, knocking someone's drink onto Eddie Alvarez's wife. It was just mayhem. BJ Penn and AJ Scales, and they're just hugging and yelling and screaming, and Leo Santos is going crazy. Honestly, the best thing I've ever witnessed, especially witnessed live, and just like that pure emotion for the Novignon team, what it means to them, what it means to Aldo. I think it just speaks volumes as to what their camp was feeling and the pressures they were feeling, and for him to have that release and to overcome that in such a big fashion was pretty incredible.
Like you said, Sarah, at the preview show, that you said you thought that Stephens would win. You doing okay?
Yeah.
Is everything all right?
So many mosquitoes.
There are a little bit of mosquitoes here in Calgary. So you said you thought Stephens would win unless the old Aldo show up. Did you feel like that is what happened? That the old Aldo was there, and did he show you something that he kind of returned back to a kind of a vintage performance?
Yeah, I definitely think the Conor fight, you can't really, talk about that because it was so fast. There wasn't really, things happen, and Conor did great, but it was such a small snippet of what could be. And then sometimes just a fighter has another fighter's number. And so Max Holloway against Aldo, he just had that number. That being said, it was great to see Aldo come back, and nothing has really changed. He looked confident, like the leg kicks that he were throwing, something that he had kind of gone away from, I feel like, a little bit. yeah, it was just, I do think that it was what we would consider Aldo of old, but clearly he hadn't gone anywhere. It was just the matchup.
About Stevens and also about Alvarez, do you feel like, Alex, very quick, and then we'll move on to the next fight. Do you feel like they really didn't lose all that much in defeat, right? Even though they both kind of got finished, they didn't really lose a whole lot. They both had moments. Stevens actually had Aldo in trouble very early in that first round. Do you feel like either one of those guys really lost much?
Well, I say this all the time, Mark, and we take it from the pro wrestling business, but sometimes one guy goes over and the other guy gets over. And that's kind of what happened in both these situations. I would be stunned if anyone thought lesser of Alvarez or Stevens after getting finished by, top shelf opponents. So, yeah, you're absolutely correct. Stevens, man, I don't know what more he could have done besides not get hit to try and beat Aldo. We were watching the fight. He landed some uppercuts. He landed one uppercut that I thought that's going to knock anyone out. That's going to knock anyone out. And especially if people are questioning Aldo's chin, well, that should have knocked him out. But clearly Aldo, as Sarah and we've all been saying, Aldo is a lot tougher than people give him credit for. He's still such a strong fighter. And again, credit to Stevens, hit him with his best. Aldo is just a better man on Saturday.
Last thing on Aldo, what is next for him?
I think a fight with Brian Ortega is super intriguing. I'm sure Ortega maybe wouldn't want to take that, because he wants that title shot. But as we keep bringing up the word interim, that might be a possibility should Max Holloway be on the shelf for a long time. Hopefully does not have to vacate permanently. But I think anyone would like to see Aldo and Ortega throw down. And Ortega would have to look at that as even though not a championship fight, against the longest reigning champion, it's a heck of an opportunity.
Moving on to the ladies, Joanna Jędrzejczyk defeated Tecia Torres by unanimous decision. A fairly complete performance, at times dominant performance. Was this the Joanna that went on that great run as a strawweight champion?
Oh, sorry, mosquito. Oh, bit my leg. No, I
Be professional, Sarah Kaufman.
I'm trying really hard. Sorry.
Did you just swallow a mosquito?
I choked on my own spit.
Invicta champion Sarah Kaufman just choked on her own spit.
Blame the mosquitoes, not Sarah.
I'm ready. I'm so sorry.
It's not your fault.
I do think that Joanna looked good. I was a little bit surprised that Tecia wasn't able to do a little bit more with her kind of cage work. She really looked like she was just trying to hold her there, and Joanna was actually landing the better strikes. She was landing pretty nice tight elbows, pretty nice tight knees on the inside. I actually thought that Joanna would be able to land a little bit more on the outside, and I don't know if she could find her range that well. But I don't think there's much to complain about because she did what she needed to do to win. I think that she was dominant in what was still a close fight. I did have her winning 3 rounds, but the first 2 rounds were not blowout rounds by any means. It was more who controlled on the cage. Well, Tecia did a lot of that, but Joanna was able to actually land the more damaging shots, and that's why I would give her those rounds. And I do think she got stronger as the fight went on. I think that Joanna is one of the best in the world, and I think Tecia is also right up there. So it was a fight that I expected Joanna to win, maybe a bit more dominantly than she did, but she still looked amazing and deserves to be, again, kind of right on that edge of number 1.
Jędrzejczyk said a number of very interesting things during the post-fight press conference. She is determined to stay in the 115-pound division. Mm-hmm. She very badly wants another shot at the belt, which is something that she calls her strawweight title. She to Rose Namajunas' request that Joanna says that she is the best strawweight. Joanna said, "I will never do that. I will never admit that."
No.
Exactly. So very, very adamant. Very,
it was exactly like that. It was
a little bit, but with the Polish accent. Alex, is this a pipe dream? Is it crazy to think that another thing that she added was a possible interim title, and almost she kind of said that she thought that Rose might be faking this injury or she's just trying to take some time off, go on holiday. Is it a pipe dream to think that Joanna Jędrzejczyk, after losing twice to Namajunas, could get another title shot against her?
I think we talked a little bit about this on the preview show, and yeah, definitely against Rose, it seems unlikely. She even kind of made it sound like she wants the title, but she doesn't want to fight Rose, as if she doesn't feel like I don't need to beat Rose to prove that I'm still the best strawweight in the world, and she still wants Rose to kind of give her respect, even though Rose has beaten her twice. So it's a little bit of a confusing message that she's sending right now. Again, great performance tonight. The message in the cage was not confusing. She certainly reminded people what a great fighter she is. But the message after it's getting a little confusing. I definitely saw some exasperated responses on social media, kind of like, how much of this is a shtick? How much of this does she actually believe? Is it better that it's a shtick or that she actually believes it? So I'm not sure how this fight does and her comments after do for her public perception. So a great win for her, but I think she needs to be a little bit. She's definitely not going to want to hear this from someone like me, but she has to be a little bit careful about how she is carrying herself and expressing that unshakable confidence.
Interim title? Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I don't think she really has to be careful. We are living in an MMA world where say the stupidest, craziest thing in the whole world, and you will get pushed. You will get, interim title shots, real title shots, pretend fake interim title shots. It doesn't matter. If people are talking about you, they're going to talk about you. I actually don't think what she was saying is really that far-fetched. I think that she's pretty kind of eloquent in what she says, in that she means it, she believes it, or at least she pretends like she believes it and it comes across like she does. And I feel that's what people want to see. They want to see someone who's passionate, who's opinionated, who thinks they're the best in the world, who has confidence. They don't want someone who's coming in saying, I think I'm pretty good, maybe I'll fight again, but, I'm fine being number 2 in the world. You want someone who says, I'm the best, call me the best, I will be the best. And I think that's what Yana brings.
The main card opener, Alexander Hernandez versus Olivier Mercier. Hernandez wins. I was going to turn to you for that. By unanimous decision. Another good performance by Hernandez. Your fellow Canadian Auburn Mercier took the loss. It was a very tactical matchup. A lot of grappling, a lot of technical striking. Break this down for me a little bit. What did Hernandez do well that was kind of the reason for his victory?
He frustrated Mercier so much. It was just, you could tell in the fight as it went on, he was just more and more frustrated. Something wouldn't work. He'd have success in a little thing, and then Hernandez would just get back up. Hernandez would just kind of muscle through, force what he wanted to do. And I think it was just that young mentality of, this is what I want, this is my shot. I'm doing it. I don't care what you do, versus, the Canadian, version of, I'm going to come in, I'm going to be technical, I'm going to show my skills, I'm the better fighter. Well, if you can't bring that into the cage, then sometimes that happens. And I thought that Hernandez looked really good, and I thought that Olivier looked really frustrated by the end of the fight.
So you're saying a typical American versus Canadian type of battle is what you're saying?
Well, just maybe Olivier fought a little bit more conservative and polite, whereas Hernandez just didn't care. It was, typical brash, just get in your face, like no respect for anyone,
Hernandez keeps an incredible pace. That was very evident during the fight. He said he wants a fighter next ranked between number 6 and number 10 in the world at lightweight. Are you buying that?
Yeah, I believe it. The kid is confident. I mean, he beat Dariush in his debut, who was at the time maybe ranked, I think, just outside of the top 10, but had been in the top 10 before. So it's certainly not unreasonable for Hernandez to ask for that. I saw some people suggesting, I can't recall the name exactly, but people behind, some people ranked behind him, and I'm like, I don't think this kid's going to take a step back. He certainly didn't take a step back in the fight. That's one thing we were wondering is, can he maintain that pace? Like, it's good. This kid's aggressive. Kid's aggressive, powerful. And there was a lot of spirited grappling exchanges in that fight for sure. Could he keep it up? And yeah, he certainly did for 15 minutes. So he's shown he can beat a top guy like OAM, go with him for 15 minutes, frustrate him, which is almost more impressive than getting a flash knockout, to frustrate someone who's perceived to be so much better than you. So yeah, he deserves someone in that 10 to 6 range. And I might be a little surprised if he actually gets it, because he might have needed a finish, to start making demands. But it's certainly in play, and don't be surprised if that does happen.
Anything else on the card that stood out to you that you'd like to mention? Any of the other fights?
I think the most impressive fight, and I don't know why we haven't talked about it, is the Ross Pearson-McDessie fight. It was amazing. I mean, Ross should not take that many shots, but McDessie took shots too, and just the fact, his inside left hooks, his short counters that he was throwing, and just his willingness to stay in that kind of line of fire, because Pearson has that power. I loved it. I mean, I think that he shouldn't take so many shots and he shouldn't be so tough, but incredible win for McDessie.
Alex, how about you? Anything that we have not mentioned that you want to highlight?
Well, Sarah said so much; it really left me with nothing. And I feel like the McDessie Pearson fight was so good, and it won fight of the night, deservedly so. It's worth mentioning again. I can't remember the last time I saw a fight where two such skilled strikers. They were right in the center of the octagon. I don't recall if they ever actually, either of them was able to back the other one up against the fence. It was right there, right in the pocket, right in the center all the time. And like she said, like Sarah said, so many techniques being thrown out and connecting, and somehow both guys managing to make it to the final bell. So congratulations to both men on that. And Sarah, I hope we don't see you. You've had your fair share of brawls. I hope those days are kind of behind you. You don't end up in a McDessie Pearson type bloodbath.
I mean, I like when I'm on the end of like doing all the hitting, and I actually enjoy getting hit a little bit, but you don't want to be having those fights where you're both getting rocked, you're both getting hit. Unfortunately, I haven't really been in those as much as it might appear that I have been. That's just my face. It just looks like that. But I mean, those are the fights that I kind of get up for, and the fights where someone comes in and they want to do a strategic plan. I don't like to feel like I'm bored in a fight, so I like those fights, but I also don't, for the longevity of my career, want to take a beating when I don't have to.
Also wanted to mention Devin Powell with those 2 straight kicks to the body, liver kicks. What an incredible finish there. Also a big win from Nina Ansaroff. And how about Ian Cutelaba coming out with the Bret Hart sunglasses, the Bret Hart music, Bret Hart sitting cage side and getting...
I didn't know that's what it was. I just thought it was his shtick.
And getting the big TKO win over Gajmarad Antagulov.
Yes.
And let's end there. We'll wrap this up with Saddle Dome behind us. Stay tuned at MMAfighting.com for all the post-fight coverage. For Esther, for Casey, for Sarah, not Alexis Davis, Alex, I'm Marc, the mosquitoes, the bunny rabbits behind us. Stay posted at MMAfighting.com.
Pacha! Pacha!